so hello there. This is a sort of retrospective / developer commentary on Burrow Down, a game I created for Ludum Dare 29. This was created for the Jam, the 72-hour deal, where you could use existing assets, provided, of course, you get the right license or whatever. I generally prefer it to the competition because I don't feel it's a very competitive event to begin with. There's no prize at all. And obviously I am very bad with graphics and music, so it's nice to have those things despite a lack of talent. So this is Burrow Down. This is the title screen. It's actually probably more polished than most, I guess. Even though it took like 5 minutes, I think it's a good title screen. It just kind of rounds out the whole thing. So we've got a little bit of backstory here. It's always exactly what you need. In this case, an incredible send-up of modern United Kingdom benefits policy, workfare and so on. So we've got that. We've got the kind of feels quotient filled for this game so far. But we'll just kind of start, and I'll get into the meat of the game. So the theme for this Ludum Dare was Beneath the Surface, and I really struggled with trying to come up with a game for this theme. The initial thing that came to mind was Minesweeper, and I kind of played around with that for a wee bit, trying to think, okay, so maybe you've got a little sort of WarioWare style game where you've got small arenas or whatever. So I'm always keen on making shooters. I like shooters, so I would make a shooter, shmups or whatever you want to call them. And it would work in that way, so you uncover a square, maybe you get like a hard encounter, or you get an easy encounter, or you get like a bonus or something. Didn't quite work out. I felt it broke up the flow too much, at least in my own mind, so I came up with this. This is called Burrow Down, in a sort of very direct reference to Border Down, which is a shmup you can play on the Dreamcast, I think. I can't quite remember who made it, or if it had an arcade release. Anyway, it's a not too well known a game, but it's fairly well known. You can look it up. And the whole point in that game is that there's borders, a sort of variable difficulty system where you start on like the highest border. Whenever you die, you go down one border, and the difficulty increases. You'll have to excuse the some fucking guy out there. Got a bit of a small cock, I think. Anyway, so man, right? Okay. So, in Border Down, you die, you go down, the difficulty increases, but the stages get shorter. If you die on the highest difficulty, the game is over. So it's sort of variable difficulty system there, and it was sort of what inspired this, but it didn't quite work out like that, and I'll kind of go into that later, but just, this is the world map, this is where we start off, these are the various dungeons, so we'll start off here. Just very basic sort of, I don't know what to even call this at this point. I guess it's like a dungeon crawlery, shootery thingy. Anyway, so we can go around and shoot some stuff. Go into big sprays of blood or whatever. This is the first shot. It's called Mind Shot, and you'll notice that it's a little bit random, which just generally helps with how games feel. I always feel. We've got two basic enemy types here, which is the imps, which I just mowed down. This girl here, Stalks. I had the idea of sort of a flower girl, even though people think she's just like an octopus. These are meant to be like tendrils, and she's meant to be purple instead of green. She's meant to sort of enclose the player. You're a witch, by the way, if that wasn't immediately obvious. So let's shoot her, and we can keep on going. The music is not mine. I just make that very clear. It's Bitpop World by someone on Bandcamp who was nice enough to do it under Creative Commons. That's always the most incredible thing for someone like me who doesn't know anything about music but wants music in the game, because it just makes things feels much more complete, you know. So we beat a stage, and now we've got a choice here whether to maintain the difficulty or to increase it. And the thought of the game was you increase the difficulty to get more experience, to get more powers, but put yourself up against a greater risk in the process. So we'll do that. We proceed to the next map here. 4 maps in total, basically, in a typical run. So we'll kind of go here. I'll show off the first, the second weapon, I suppose, which is Mind Blade. Deflect shots. It's a lot of fun to play around with. In fact, it's basically broken because it does a lot of damage, and you know, you won't die. I don't need to explain much more of it than that. Very thing here. So nobody really realized this for obvious reasons, but you can hold down right click to charge up your mana really quick. It's probably not the most intelligent mana system in the history of the world. But I thought for some reason that just like putting a message at the bottom of the screen saying, you know, here's how you control the game, and it will last there for 5 seconds. For some reason I thought that would be a good way to inform players. On the other hand, I think sometimes it's nice for small games like this to have something that the player doesn't immediately comprehend. So they're like, oh, I can do that. Okay, I'll go and play it again. Because, you know, we've all got a million games to play. And any reason you can give someone to get them back to it is always nice. So, the maps, the first game I made, the first Load 'em Dare entry I did, Pop vs Starfighter, map making was the biggest kind of pain in the neck, really. I used tiled this time, and it lets me make quite sort of functional, but it lets me pump stuff out quite quickly. I think all the maps took me about a couple of hours, probably. I didn't really think about them too much, I'm sorry to say. This is using a tile set from Open Game Art. It's a very, very versatile one. The funny thing about the door is there's a couple of doors in the first map, and when I showed this to someone, the very first thing he said was, how do I get in the door? So maybe there shouldn't be doors in the game, but maybe there should be. You know, adds mystery and intrigue to them. Like, oh, these demons used to live here. Well, they do live here. No, they don't. For the basic, how I designed maps was basically I would take a shape and just add a bunch of enemies to it. So the first map just used a basic horseshoe design. This one is a T-shape with an optional encounter down there for if you want to refill your health or to get a bit more XP. The third one is a sort of S shape, and the fourth one is a spiral because spirals are difficult. Once we do this, we can decrease, maintain, or increase. We'll increase again. The whole thought here was that the most skilled player would advance down to the lowest part of the dungeon and get that ending. So there's to be multiple endings coming off here, basically. And you'd want to get the best ending, so obviously you try and get down here, but you have to beat the game without dying to get down there. So that's how that works. I'll show you the third weapon here, Mind Ray. So that's also quite a bit of fun. It tends to mow stuff down. About the maps, again, so difficulty is variable, like I said. The further down you go, the harder it's supposed to be. The maps basically have the same layouts. That wasn't really intended, but it's just how it turned out, because I didn't really have the time to do 10 maps of the incredible quality you can see here. I mean, look at that. Look at this incredibly designed encounter here, where I could just stand like it's a Sekiro game, and stocks will not touch me ever. Well, she'll probably eventually find her way past that water pool, and then, you know, lay on the sauce. But yeah, what I was able to do was to change the spawns according to difficulty, which I feel is a bit more interesting than just sort of scaling up enemy health, though it does scale a little because the player gets obscenely powerful later on. So imps and stalks, these girls here, have more health depending on the difficulty. This guy here, these guys are called Chompy 2. They're not cacodemons, but they they're fast. They're designed to pursue the player, basically, and to kind of box them in while laying down some sort of covering fire. But the counter to them is the Mind Blade, basically. That was what I had in mind, and they're very easy as a result. I could probably have done a bit more there, but who's counting? Who's noticing anyway? So we'll keep going down here. We're probably going to see one of my favourite enemy types down here. So I was able to get 5 enemy types out for this game in quite a short amount of time, which I'm always proud of. So we'll just try and get that not Cacodemon, Chompy 2 out of the way, and then we'll describe these. So these are knight statues. The thought of these was to kind of just slow the player down a little bit and to make them careful about exactly what we're shooting, because it's very easy to get very spammy in this game. So these guys just charge up power and then shoot these kind of non-reflective So yeah, I can mind blade them all I want, but they will not be reflected. And when I shoot them, they charge up faster, so you can see there. And eventually, when they get destroyed, they explode like that, and I'm in big trouble unless I move away. So they're kind of designed to make it a little bit more thoughtful, you know. Maybe not such a completely brain dead experience. Whether I succeed or not is of course up to you. I quite like how the weapon balance turned out in this game. A lot better than in Popular Starfighter, I think. You've got your kind of... Each weapon has a fairly clear purpose, and it fills that niche very well. So let's pick up the cherries on a plate here. That was pie! No, it was cake. Sorry, not pie. Cake. But I wanted to avoid Portal references, so... And then someone pointed out, you know, cake is a lie. That is also a Portal reference, so I just can't win. It's such a sadness. Anyway, so we'll just mow these guys down. Girls, it's alright, it's alright. Kind of charge up our mana reserves. I'm not too fond of the music, I have to say. I mean, it's good for... It's a very well composed chiptune. I just don't like that sort of style of music, and I used it because it was the first thing I found on Bandcamp that was Creative Commons licensed. Sorry! I always leave music until last because it's very time consuming to try and hunt it down, and because you will quickly go insane when you're trying to test something that's got music enabled. Yeah, I'm pretty sure anyone who develops games knows exactly what I'm talking about there. I don't know what's up with these imps here. I think they just... I guess they just spawn one of these brushes. I won't go into that, that's a bit too low level. This is a funny bug where the knight statues, they're not meant to be pushed out of the way by anything, but the chompy 2s can push them out of the way anyway because they're just that fucking boisterous. I thought that was very cute, so I didn't fix it. And also, you know, there you go, there's your player feedback right there. They get really pissed off and angry when you hit them with anything, particularly the Mind Blade because it's so fucking overpowered. So, feedback, very important, especially in Ludum Dare when you want to make as good an impression as short a time as possible. What I'll do here is I'll just die while talking about some other stuff. Yeah, player feedback, incredibly important. This is going to take a while, those sparks only do 1 damage. I don't feel like I got it quite on the mark. I could probably have done more, like screen shake or something, you know, flambeer it up. I feel I got a fair... It feels quite nice for 2 days, I'm gonna say. I spent most of the first day just panicking. Completely panicking, just in complete fucking paralysis. Alright, come on, Knight. Come on, you brave boy. There we go, come on. I apologize if you hear my keyboard, it says, gotta have my cherry blues, you know. Is it cherry blue? I think so. Yeah, browns are the... So yeah, defeated. When you die... I didn't want to make a game that you could just lose this time. I wanted to make it a little bit more, perhaps interesting. Like, when you're playing Ludum Dare games, you're generally there to try and game the coolness rating. So you want to get through as many as possible, and you do not want to fucking replay a game unless you really love it. So I wanted to make something where, okay, you die, but you can keep going. But there is still a reason why you wouldn't want to die, you know. So it's quite an easy game. It's very, very cheesable. But I feel a lot of people quite got something out of it anyway. So if you die, you can't increase the difficulty. That's basically how it works. You can keep going at the difficulty you're at, but you can't increase it. So we'll do that, and we'll try and shoot for the second best ending here, which is gonna look the same as all the other endings, funnily enough. So this is a sort of spiral pattern. Trying to think of other things to do here. The game was made in Love 2D. I used a bunch of libraries that I haven't used before. Hump, I always use Hump. Get ready for me to name some very oddly named libraries. I'm gonna say that I don't really like how they're named, but we'll go like this. So I used Hump, which is a sort of general purpose collection libraries for tracking game states, vector maths, that sort of thing. Very useful. For collision detection, I used the library I used to use is called Hard On Collider, so I was naturally inclined to try and find it something else. Found out Bump.lua, which is very nice, very nice. I could highly recommend it. I mean, look at how these collisions are being handled. It's just, you know, you don't even think about it. It's just, whoa, I'm not falling off the edge. Maybe I should fall off the edge. It is a bit of a dickhole of a part, but it's fun to put the sword on the knights and get really flustered. I used to load tiled maps. I used STI. I can't really say I approve of that name, but you know, it's up to the developer really. And I'm not going to stop using something like that because it's a very good library. I just wish names were a little bit better. I don't want to come off against this something entirely humorless. It's just, yeah, like I use cock and hump and STI, and I'm like 12 years old. Hey guys. Whoa, look at that upgrade. Mind Drainer costs less mana. How useful. I like how the weapon balance turned out. Like I said, you've got kind of lateral crowd control there in the form of the Mind Shot. This is a cool unintended little thing that you can see here when I proceed down here. I never intended for this to happen, but there's a little gap in the collision here, which means that if I dally around here for too long, I'm gonna get surprised. Oh, I'm not actually. Fuck. Oh, hello. Oh. Right, that usually just works. In this case, it didn't. But yeah, these chompies, they're just gonna. Oof, look at that. I actually got flanked. When's the last time you got flanked and I fucking blew him there again? Yeah, I know. Completely unintended. I'm not going to take credit for that. You know, it's just that sort of latent gamer brain fucking showing through there. So, we'll keep going here. Like I say, this level is basically a sort of spiral shape. Which you have to have something. You can't just have like a fucking line that the player goes through. That's completely uninteresting. Even if there's no facet of exploration to this game at all, I still found people kind of praising. They kept saying the game is non-linear levels, and that's fucking bullshit. Like the levels are so linear, but they didn't feel that they were linear, and that's perhaps what's important in this modern time of ours. So this is the climactic encounter here. We've got some chomps. Ooh, careful. You know, it's not like they're fucking easily shut down by the blade or anything. Imp. You get your health and mana pack when you level up. I don't know if that should really be the case. I feel it's a little bit. Yeah, I don't like to lose for stupid reasons. I don't like to win for stupid reasons. My general attitude to games. So these are. This was meant to be like the highest tier enemy. They appear in a bunch of places on the highest difficulty. It's called Fatso, I think, in the game files. I had a bunch of ideas for enemies, but this is probably the highest tier one. And he's only high tier because his projectiles can't be reflected and he has a ton of health. He's fucking trivial to dodge, look at this shit. So there you go. I guess I'll just kind of... Is there anything else I've not covered here? Because this would be the last map, obviously. I always like that. I like to do that sometimes. There's a fair amount of particle effects in this game, which is very easy to pull off. And I was surprised at how well it ran on a friend's computer, because his computer is fucking god-awful. But it just worked just fine. So I mean, when you're doing 2D games in like Love 2D or a similar framework, I would say just throw everything you have at it and just fucking go for it. So we've beat the game and we see the ending. So I'm the best apparently. Well, I'm second best. Picture of Alex Salmond there. I've got my Twitter handle there, __Danbo if you're interested. That's my name. So yeah, there was going to be multiple endings there depending on how well you did, but obviously ran out of time. That would be Burrow Down. I'm fairly proud of it. I think there's definitely some flaws. It's too easy. It's very cheesable. Problems with player feedback. I don't quite like the music. But I think if I took some more time to flesh out some of the levels at least, and as well as some of the enemies, and everything else about the game as a matter of fact, then I think a lot of people could really enjoy this game, and well, a lot of people did enjoy it, as it happens. So that would be about it. If you want to ask anything about the game, get me on Twitter, __Dambo. That's about the size of it, folks. I'm going to click the quit button here, and I'll see you later.